Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with another banger, and you know what it is. It's that 614 Ben, and we are bending air all the way from the Midwest, one side of it to the other, from the 614 all the way over to South Bend, Indiana, with my main man, post game of post game sports. I'm so glad to have you this evening, man. I know it seemed like it's been a few days in the stream, but it's good to see you this evening. And I apologize for last week's cancellation, flipping the schedule, and things like that. But we are back with another banger, and I'm here welcoming my man post game. How are you doing this evening? And again, I appreciate you being here with me as well.
Man, you know what it is, man. It's always crazy when we get together. I appreciate you having me, brother, and I'm excited to talk some NFL football with this AFC North.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. Anything else you got to say? Because for me, man, when we got on the phone and we was chatting, and you said let's chop it up on this AFC North. We ain't talk no football. I said let's do it because a lot of people, we got some Who Dey fans out there. We got some Cleveland Brown fans out there. We got some Baltimore Raven fans out there, and we got the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we got Blitzburg. As you see in the background, I'm supporting my man Parlay Poe on that side of me. And I got, just another t-shirt for him right up underneath that, man. But it's just good to be here and be back, dropping the jewels and cooking up as we do. I'm gonna ask you, man, which team you think, I'm gonna wait till my Bengals to go last. But which other team you think we should start off with this evening? And we definitely appreciate everyone tuning in this evening and rocking with your boys, the hungriest men in the Midwest podcasting. We love it. Nothing more to it but that. Who you want to start off with this evening, Post? What you thinking?
Uh, it doesn't matter to me. However you want to do it, bro.
Because I'm,
I'm,
I'm I'm looking. Go ahead.
no, I'm saying I'm fully loaded. I got a fully
Let's
loaded clip.
let's do it, man. So I'm a unload the clip since you said it's fully loaded, and we gonna talk about a team that's been talked about since they made. Some people say one of the craziest moves. Some say one of the dumbest moves in the history of the franchise, letting Miles Garrett go. But they brought in one of my guys from Florida State, Jared Verse. They got Shador. They got a young team over there in Cleveland. Deshaun is back. So we going to talk about the Cleveland Browns to start it off. They got Taylor Green in the draft. They got Spencer Fano out of Utah. Concepcion, one of SEC Sean's guys from Texas A&M. They even got Denzel Boston, and Denzel Ward. Another Denzel on the offensive side. Could that be a problem in years to come in Cleveland? Something to see. I like the kid. And then another guy I spoke on, and I put him in our mock draft, I think both times, was Emmanuel McNeil Warren at safety, straight out of Ohio, but he's in Toledo. Let's talk about these brownies because they loaded, man. What's your thoughts, man? Just to start before we jump into a few questions and more. What's your thoughts, man? Just thinking of these brownies.
Really interesting team. I think they gave Miles Garrett a solid, trade. First of all, they paid the man. They gave the man a big bag, and then they ship him off to a Super Bowl contending team. They
Yeah,
did Miles Garrett a solid, and I salute the Cleveland Browns for doing that because they didn't have to do that. They know they're not in contention for a Super Bowl. Why continue to waste probably the best football player in the NFL's career? Let
yeah,
him go somewhere where he can have that impact and compete like he wants to, like he deserves to. But
I
the
agree.
Browns are a really interesting team. Of course, everybody is going to be thinking about the quarterback position, Deshaun Watson, Shador
Yeah,
Sanders. What are they going to do with Taylor Green? Is he going to
yeah,
get that third spot out on the depth chart, or could he surprise some people? When you talk about Deshaun Watson, bro, here's a guy who I didn't think he looked too good before he got the injury.
agree.
Now you telling me he's back, and I know they're paying him a boatload of money. But if it's not about the money, I believe Shador should win this job. I like what I seen from Shador. Of course, he was only a rookie last year. He flashed a little bit, but now you surround him with some young pass catchers, and Manning is one of the better tight ends in the NFL. So that's a
Yeah.
good start. Not to mention the running game with Quinshawn Junkins and Sampson as his backup. So I like some of the pieces that the Cleveland Browns have assembled, but that offensive line is going to be pretty much completely new. You mentioned drafting Fano. So we'll see how their offensive line is able to gel. But for my money, I think Shador Sanders is going to win the starting job for the
Mhm.
Cleveland Browns. I just don't think Deshaun Watson is the same player that he was MVP caliber in Houston. I don't like how he looked when he came back from injury. Then he gets injured again, and he's been out this long. I just don't have faith in Deshaun Watson at this point. So I'm gonna say Shador wins.
Ooh, I like that, and I know we spoke on this, and you holding to your answer from then, and I know it was I can't remember if it was a month ago, 2 months ago, somewhere around there, and been thinking about this since. And when you mentioned this when we was on the phone, myself, I said, I don't know, man. I thought about it very heavy. I think Shador definitely deserves it as well. I think at this point you got to put the money to the side. We've seen what he's done since he's been in Cleveland. He couldn't get him to the promised land, and the promised land to me for Cleveland is getting to the playoffs. Having that quarterback that can get you to that playoff, get you at win, and get you in the thoughts of a following season of getting not just another win in the playoffs, but possibly to the AFC Championship. You could actually dream and think of this with Shador Sanders and this young wide receiver core that they're starting to assemble around Shador Sanders, as well as respectively having Deshaun Watson, having Dylan Gabriel, and those guys there. But I think for us, we really look at Shador to be the man to really get this city of Cleveland back jumping in the way it needs to be. Just think, young LeBron got it going on it on a basketball side way back then. Why not Shador do it on the football side? Nothing against him. I think you got to put him out there to let him do what he do to make the mistakes. But guess what? Some of those mistakes may be touchdowns, and he may just learn off what he's already progressed into and more. So for me, I definitely agree with that. I love Quinshawn Jenkins at the running back. And yeah, we talking about a Buckeye. Shout out to him and the university for getting this young man right. Coming from the SEC, going to the Big Ten, getting NFL ready. I think that was a big thing for Quinshawn Jenkins. I'm not going to say that's, possibly one of the reasons as well that he came to the Big Ten, as I've been hearing a lot lately, that people come to the Big Ten and they get NFL ready. So for me, I think that was a big move and pushing him forward. And I think he was definitely on the tear before he got that injury last year. So I look for him to have a great season along with the different additions that you have, like you said, with this young wide receiver core who will emerge. You have a Denzel Boston, you have a, a KC Conception. We know what he could do. You think of Percy Harvin, you think all of those guys. So for me, what do you think Fano can bring to this Cleveland Browns organization? Because I think of Joe Thomas, you know, doings when you speak of Fano. When you pick an offensive tackle that high, you think of a future. You think of a franchise tag. You think of someone that could really protect your quarterback. What's your thoughts on Fano joining this Cleveland Browns organization through that draft pick?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great pick, picking Spencer Fano. You heard a lot of buzz about him throughout the draft process. I know he was a stud at Utah, and they have two really good tackles. But I think what he does is solidify that left tackle position. I think you
Mhm.
got your left tackle for the next 10 years,
Yeah,
if he hits and develops like I think he will. So that's what he brings to the Cleveland Browns.
agree. Now, on a defensive side, this is something to me about these Cleveland Browns. You know we're gonna get to the comments as well. We appreciate everyone tuning in. SEC Sean, we see you in the building. Shout out to Joerdz 3881. We see you in the building. We appreciate you as well. The defense is very good, and I say scary, scary, scary good. And what I mean by that is because you bring in a Jared Verse. We know when you lose Miles Garrett, you're losing a Hall of Famer. We know what comes all along with that. All pro, you can knock it off the list. He's been there. He's done that. He's going to do it this year, possibly even more. We just don't know yet, respectively. But you bring in a Jared Verse. You got Mason Graham. You got Malik Collins. You got Grant Delpit, Denzel Ward, and Carson Weschinger. That's a guy I think a lot of people don't really pay attention to. I think you'll be able to see so many abilities more of the defense. Not saying that Garrett kept some from showing up because everybody showed up in this Cleveland defense, but I think when you bring in a Verse and you have a Mason Graham, you have a young core at that defensive front that could really cause havoc as a whole unit to where you could stunt and you could do so many things. You can't just double team or triple team a person. You got many weapons of mass destruction to come against that offense with. What's your thoughts on this Cleveland Browns defense?
I mean, I think it's fair to say they'll have some kind of drop off, losing the who I think is the best player in the NFL. And I'm sure a lot of people would agree with that in Miles Garrett. But like you mentioned, they got some young men on that defensive line who could take off this year, Verse being one of them. And Graham from Michigan, man, that's a
Yeah,
huge defensive tackle who can make plays, and I'm looking forward to watching his career play out. But I
yeah,
think there's going to be a little drop off, not much. I think there'll still be a solid defense in that AFC North, man. One that you don't want to deal with, especially when it gets cold outside, like how it does in the Midwest,
yeah.
homie. So I think
Yes, indeed.
their defense will
For
be,
sure.
yeah, their defense will still be formidable. I don't think it will be their pass rush may see a little bit of drop off, but they're in a good spot with the young talent that they have, especially drafting Emmanuel McNeil Warren, who I thought was a steal at the spot they drafted him at. So the young talent has to develop and continue to get better. But all in all, I think Cleveland has a really solid defense.
Yeah, I agree. And not to forget about the young Justin Jefferson from Alabama when you speak on that young core. And then it makes me think about another person on the offensive side, that security blanket, one of your guys. That security blanket is at tight end. That's Harold Fannin Jr. What's your thoughts on HFJR? That's what I'm gonna call him this season, and I'm gonna have to make sure I remember that because I'm gonna try to write down all the names starting this season that I can remember outside of the ones I do. HFJR, Harold Finnan Jr. What's your thoughts on him and Shador possibly connecting throughout the season?
I love him. I think he broke out as a rookie. I think he's going to continue to be the number one target for that offense. I think Shador, if he wins the starting quarterback position, which I personally expect him to do, that's going to be the guy he's going to be looking for as that young receiving core continues to develop. I think Harold Fannin is, without question, the number one target in this receiving game.
That's yeah. I totally agree. Like because when you say stepping up at that wide receiver position, who's going to emerge? We know the problems that we've seen over the years when it comes to Jared Judy, them not really finding and having that wide receiver, question marks around Tillman. Can Isaiah Baum be a wide receiver that step up? Who are we going to see step up this year at that position? We've been talking about the quarterback position moving forward, running back position, even the tight end is secure. So I think for Cleveland, just finding that niche at that wide receiver, being able to run those routes, make those catches. I mean, sometimes we know it's big grabs. You're in the NFL, but I think that's going to be a big thing for Cleveland this year and moving forward throughout the season. I think the defense is going to come together, but I think we'll be being in store for a great season. I think overall with how Cleveland performed, not looking for them to. I'm not gonna say they not gonna make the playoffs because they play the game for a reason. But I don't think Cleveland fans should be we going to the Super Bowl. But I'm not gonna say don't say we can't go to the playoffs because in that AFC North it get really really funky. At SEC Sean, he comes in, he says, what's going to help the young receivers is that secondary. They got to perfect their craft against is really good. Yeah. Like that secondary, man. Cleveland, they secondary has been, I think, when you think about Denzel Ward, that's one thing the Cleveland secondary. You know he gonna shut it down. You know he gonna beat a man, and he gonna get everybody out there moving. And I think it just adds to fuel to the fire when you have a player like Jared Verse, Mason Graham coming into a breakout year. I think it's just gonna speak volumes of what Cleveland can really move into doing in these next few years as well. So the next team we gonna get to, they birds, but I don't know how dirty they are. You know they call them the flock, respectably. They over there in Baltimore. They got a guy named LJ Lamar. We talking about them Baltimore Ravens. And one thing for me, Post, man, when you think of these Ravens, you think of that defense. You think of Ed Reed instantly. You think of even when Rod Woodson played with Baltimore. A lot of people forget about those years. Like players played at Baltimore. Of course, Ray Lewis, the great. What is your thoughts about this Baltimore team? And they get Zion Young from Missouri. They get the Jacoby Lane. They get the Elijah Sarat, national champion at Indiana coming into the NFL. Then you get Rayshawn Benny, one of the guys out of Michigan. We talked a lot about him and his prowess up front in them trenches. Josh, what is it? Josh Kukvis, I don't want to say it wrong, for Alabama, the big tight end, who's also a security blanket. And we seen which propelled the boy Simpson up into that first lottery pick, as we seen in Mossberg did call that out, along with them getting Chandler Rivers out of Duke, which I think was a great pickup as well. So, what's your thoughts when we talk about also that big addition in Trey Hendrickson with this Baltimore team, this Baltimore defense? What's your thoughts on Baltimore a whole as we get to breaking this Baltimore team down?
As a whole, or their defense?
Just give us your thoughts and we'll go right into it. We'll start up top with Lamar and those guys, but just talking about the picks they getting in with Jacoby, Surratt, Zion Young, a few of the guys that we talked about, watching them over the college years and coming into, what you think they could affect with this organization moving forward and, growing with this team as well.
Well, I mean, the Ravens, they bring in a new coaching staff. They go defensive minded with the guy from the Chargers. So I think that's a major key for the Ravens this season. Can they get back to that dominant defense that they were once so
Hmm.
feared with? But the
Yeah.
offense, I think the offense is going to cook this year, bro. You bring in wide receivers from college and Lane and Surratt. Can one of those young receivers step up and be Lamar's two at the wide receiver
Mhm.
position? Because let's face it, Mark Andrews is getting older. I think Andrews is going to bounce back this year and have a good year, but they definitely need one of those young guys to step up. Uh, I really like Zay Flowers. I think he's going to have a big year this year. So
Yeah.
long as SEC Sean just mentioned in the chat, so long
Mhm.
as Lamar Jackson, so long as if Lamar Jackson stays healthy this season. I think when Lamar is healthy, he's going to be in that MVP conversation every
Yeah.
time because he's so dynamic. And there's a misconception with Lamar Jackson. A lot of people think he's just this dynamic runner, playmaker, which he is. You got to give him credit for that. But Mossberg, Lamar Jackson can throw the ball too. I think people miss
Yeah.
that sometimes. At least people who's not locked into football like we are. But I think Lamar Jackson, as long as he's healthy, he's going to have a big season, and he'll definitely be in the MVP conversation. Uh, how much does King Henry have left in the tank?
Mhm.
He's real close to breaking a rushing record this year. I think they got to feed him the ball. But I mean, getting Hendrickson from the Bengals was a humongous get because now you got that elite edge rusher. I think they're elite on defense. At they have at least one elite defensive player on all three levels.
at
With
every
Ro-
level.
with Roquan Smith, and then you talk about uh was it Kyle
Kyle
what's
Hamilton.
Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame. I know better. But Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame. All three players on each level of that defense, they have an elite player now. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing if that defense can get back to actually scaring opponents and being that physical Baltimore Ravens defense that we're so used to seeing. But Lamar Jackson, again, I think Zay Flowers is going to be a monster this year. Mark Andrews, does he have anything left in the tank? I think he'll be 31 or 32 this season. We'll see. They traded or they let their younger tight end who was supposed to replace Mark Andrews in this offense go to the New York Giants. So we'll see what kind of effect that has. But man, I fully expect, excuse me, the Ravens to be right in the thick of things.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. And I can't disagree with you because, like you said, will the defense be dominant? Being a Bengals fan myself, I know how that Ravens defense coming. They're very dominant from the years that I've seen them throughout my life watching football. And that's a great thing. If they could get to that dominant defense, I think the Ravens could be a Super Bowl contender. I think when their defense is clicking and when Lamar is healthy, as like you said, SEC Sean said, I think that's probably one of the biggest things year in, year out that this franchise and then this conference is thought about. Will the quarterback be healthy to lead our team to the promised land? We talking about another team that has dealt with injuries with their quarterback in key portions and parts of the season where you want him to be healthy to get you to getting that Lombardi trophy. So, for me, I think that's definitely a big deal. I think Jacoby Lane is going to be that guy. I like Jacoby Lane. I love what he became at USC, which propelled him into being that high in the draft. A lot of people question it. I think they getting a gem in Jacoby Lane. For me, when it comes to Derrick Henry, we know what he do. Justice Hill to back him up. I think Justice has been banging that gavel and giving his dues in the correct way when need be. If he could get that Darian Sproles, which he's reminded me of, if he can stay healthy, I think that helps Baltimore even more. So one thing in Baltimore, if they can stay healthy, I think it could cause problems. And like you said, every level is scary on that defense. And I thought about the secondary. It's like pick your poison. You got your boy Kyle Hamilton, you got Malachi Starks, you got Awuzie, former Cincinnati Bengal, and you got Marlon Humphrey. You talking about a secondary that could send the whole secondary to the Pro Bowl itself. Could this be a season where we see a team in the AFC North have a corner, have a free safety, and have a linebacker all holding those positions down in the Pro Bowl, being those guys at the cream of the crop of the NFL when it's all said and done as we head into the playoffs as well. Any other thoughts? And I like that Zay Flowers. I've watched him from the start. I think my question is, can Rashad Bateman come out of the closet? And when I say come out of the closet, I want to see that Arizona State Sun Devil Bateman. That's what I want to see because that boy was a dog. And I think injuries derailed him early, and we've seen him get back. And when he's healthy, this last year, he's been a dog. So if Bateman could get the bait and be back on that Sun Devil slate, I think it's a problem in Baltimore. And if Lamar stay healthy, they could go to a whole nother level on the offense as we see the weapons that they have. So that's just my thoughts on this Baltimore team. I know we'll have more throughout as we see them through this season, but so far that's what I have. I just like this team, and it was good that you mentioned the passing. Being 27th last season in passing, I think they're definitely looking to make some adjustments with that and having these wide receivers picked and making sure that they got that tight end out of Alabama. So I think picking him up is to make sure that that loss that they had to the Giants, yeah, it was a big loss, but I think he could come in, learn fast from the veteran, the Hall of Famer, the All Pro, and Andrews to get better fast to help this offense in Baltimore. Any other thoughts on these Ravens out of Baltimore, who some think can win the AFC North? But you know me, You see the high school athletes, you see the Bengals side, and yeah, that's Joey B up there. So you know where I'm cooking that when it comes to the North. Any other thoughts before we go?
Yeah, man. I just think the AFC North is going to surprise, come down to the Bengals and Ravens this year. But
Yeah.
I think I really do think there's a chance. There's a small chance that they can get three teams in the playoffs because I think a lot of people are writing off Pittsburgh. And I know we're gonna get to Pittsburgh, but I kind of like some of the weapons they got down there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And then not to forget about your boy LeJounte Webster out of Colorado. I like the way he's been playing. I think this Baltimore team, and like you said, I'm glad you mentioned Lamar Jackson and the way he passed. Go look at some Louisville footage. That boy had that spread offense. That boy could throw that rock. He could spin that thing, as Parlay Post say. So I think they actually kind of building that offense around the Louisville style, knowing Derrick Henry is on his way out in the next few years. That could be something to look at. Having this young Jacoby Surratt, Javant, having Javante, LaJonte, I'm sorry, and having Bateman because I think they're up next definitely when it comes to this Baltimore Ravens offense, and especially Zay Flowers. All those tuning in this evening, man. We appreciate y'all tuning in to this 614 Ben. Make sure you hit that like button. If it's more people watching than likes, we got a problem. Make sure you smash that like button. Go like and subscribe to all the channels. This your boy Mossberg, Level Up Sports 10. You see my man post game sports, big ND fan, big Indianapolis Colts fans. When I say we just love the game of football, man, love the game of basketball, even tap into the WNBA. We love it. And it took me a while to get to these guys, man. You got to pee on your head. I know it's for posts, yeah, what I mean, but man, we got to talk about these Pittsburgh Steelers, respectably, man. They got many rings. This is the non-Tomlin era. It's the start of it. You got a reunion with Rodgers and McCarthy. How long is that going to go on? You got a lot of chitter chatter. You got Will Howard and Drew Allar, Big Ten arch rivals for a few seasons. Will they battle it out for the future QB position? Because I don't think Randolph will be that guy. I'm just saying, I'm gonna be all the way real. I think the future is for Will or Drew. I'm just saying. But this Pittsburgh team, when you talk about the non-Tomlin era, the reunion of McCarthy and Rodgers in the Steel City, that's different. Not hearing Tomlin is coaching in Pittsburgh, to me, I think it's wild. But the first round, they got Max out of Arizona State. They got Jeremy Bernard. They got Gabriel Rubio, one of your guys. And I think he's going to make a big impact. And then they got Robert Spears Jennings, who I think could also be an impact maker when it comes to this Pittsburgh defense at that safety position. What is your thoughts? Because we in here and we talking about Parlay Poe. I got the shirt Parlay Poe. We in here, and then I got another one up there for you. The Parlay Poe, Blitzburg Steelers. We in here talking about them. What's your thoughts, man? Talk to us about these Pittsburgh Steelers, and we gonna deep dive into these guys, man. Because I think this is a team that could be scary good as well. And like you said, possibly get into the playoffs. A lot of people sleeping on them, but they got the tools, they got the weapons. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I know Aaron Rodgers is getting up there in age. We all know that. He's not the same Aaron Rodgers he was when he was winning MVPs. But I think he's in a good situation if they can figure out that offensive line and not that they need the greatest pass blocking or run blocking offensive line. They just need to be good enough, Moss. I mean, because Aaron Rodgers is a savvy veteran. He gonna get the ball out of his hand quick.
Yeah.
But as far as the offense goes, like I think this has to be when you just look at their roster, maybe the most physical offense in the NFL. Michael Pittman comes over from Indianapolis. I think he's low key a one.
Yeah,
And then you talk about the run game. They pick up Rico Dowdle to add with Warren. That's a nice room.
that's
But
a 1-2 punch.
what does that say about Caleb Johnson though, the young running back? If they had to go get Rico Dowdle, but I mean, when you talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, this offense is going to be super physical, man. And then don't forget about DK Metcalf. All these players outside of Jalen Warren, who is physical, but he's smaller in stature, but physical, skill position players. And I think, like I said, their offensive line doesn't have to be number one in the league. If they can be solid, opening up holes in the run game, protecting Aaron Rodgers, because you know Rodgers is gonna get the ball out his hand quick. I
Yeah,
think the Pittsburgh Steelers can be a little bit better than people think. And then McCarthy and Rodgers, how comfortable are they going to be? You know, Aaron Rodgers and McCarthy were together for years in Green Bay. Now they're in Pittsburgh, and Aaron Rodgers last what one season, probably his last season in the NFL.
yeah,
The question for the Pittsburgh Steelers though is can that defense, just like the Baltimore Ravens, can they return to scaring opposing teams when they play each other?
yeah,
Uh, Watt Watt has to stay healthy because if Watt is healthy, he deploys an elite pass rush on
yeah,
every single passing situation. You know, they got Joey Porter Jr. at corner. Can he step up and be that elite lockdown corner? They got some pieces in place to build on if I'm Mike McCarthy. So I think Aaron Rodgers, I don't expect he did have a solid year. He had some games where he tossed 4 touchdown passes last year. I don't think that's the type of team they want to be. I think they want to be physical. And then
mhm,
you talk about the physicality of their tight ends. You talk about Pat Fryermuth and Darnell Washington, a humongous tight end. So
yeah.
the physicality on offense, I think, has to carry this team if they're gonna make a wild card or possibly upset some people and win the AFC North.
I agree, and I like the fact you mentioned D. Wash, man. When I think about him, I'm thinking of what was his offseason like. What will he look like when he steps on the field this season? Because if he looks anything like a actual wide receiver and not a tight end, we know the problems that he caused last year. I think he's going to be more of a problem within that offense this year. When you add a weapon like Bernard coming out of Alabama, I think, for me, when I thought about him, you know, respect is respect, and we could compare how we could compare. I thought about Antonio Bryant post. Antonio Bryant came over and just had for sure hands. And after his few seasons in the NFL, he had them 4 straight seasons. Shout out to the documentary that popped up. I actually watched it. That documentary is dope. We ain't even smoking it though. We don't do that this way. But the documentary, go watch it. It's an Antonio Brown documentary out there. That's just the player I thought about. So I think this Pittsburgh team could definitely be that team to get in, whether it's a wild card or make their way in, because they got to defend that AFC North. A lot of people forgot Pittsburgh won the North. Shout out to Parlay Poe, yo Steelers, getting that AFC North last year, man. Shout out to Unc at WTP for Life that's in here tuning in and watching this, man. We appreciate y'all. And definitely, he said he lost 47 pounds. What do you think? D Wash losing 47 pounds. I think that's a problem in the NFL this season. Post, I'm gonna call that a breakout year right here. Parlay Poe gonna make sure he marked that and talk about that. That's a big loss when it come to weight. I think he could actually line up at the receiver position on third down. That makes me think about a Calvin Benjamin from Florida State and his height and his size. That's crazy work. I think that's going to be something special to see in Pittsburgh. And when you think of a DK Metcalf, along with a Michael Pittman, like you said, that could be a 1-2 punch. Michael Pittman could go anywhere and be a one. He come to Pittsburgh and he gonna play the role with DK Metcalf. That's crazy. And then you got Fryermuth, like you said, at the tight end position. The question is, like you said, can that offensive line be something special and help that reunion of McCarthy and Rodgers this season in Pittsburgh during the non-Tomlin era? That's just going to be something to watch, I think, because when you have all these added pieces, and like you said, you got Jalen Warren, Dowdell, that's a 1-2 punch. And like you said, Caleb Johnson, that's big because there are some questions out there for me. For them to draft you and then go get Dowdell, like, are they looking for something different? Because Dowdell do bring that physical. He got that speed. He got that. And some people do get a little hungrier than others. Go watch The Becoming of Hines Ward. That's a really good too. Appreciate the SEC sign. I think I might have watched that one or checked a little bit out of it. I'm gonna have to go definitely tap into that. And Parlay Poe, we appreciate you tuning in. He said he's worried about the defense. Speaking of that defense, what's your thought? You spoke on TJ Watt, Jack Sawyer, like you said, Joey Porter Jr., all those great guys. Of course, they got my guy there, Jalen Ramsey, that came in a big acquisition for Minka. Fitzpatrick, I think that was one of the biggest things, we've seen. And Pittsburgh's been making moves on the offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball the last few years. So I think they're trying to look and get what they want to have. I don't know if they knew what was coming, but that's just something to think about. And he said it came out Mike T was running the defense on every team. Interesting. But that defense was banging, though. They had some for sure defense. Anything else you got to say or want to say about these Pittsburgh Steelers? Anything you would like to say, Parlay Poe? We appreciate you tuning in. You see, I got you in the background. This yours, though, right here. I'm going to show you the backside of it real quick, though. Got your Hall of Famer stitched in on it. You know what I mean? That's yours just to hang up, Parlay Poe. Whenever you come back through and swoop me up, you know what I mean, for one of the hangouts, that's yours. I'm gonna have to make sure I get that to you just to put in the crib, like a terrible towel, but that's authentic, man. That's a Hall of Famer. Anything else for you on these Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, that's a really dope shirt, man. But
Appreciate it.
I mean, like I said, man, I know they the defending AFC North champs. Parlay Poe mentioned it in the chat. That defense has got to get off the field on third down,
Yeah.
100%. Watt has to stay healthy, and Porter has to take a step. He has to be a lockdown corner in the NFL. If he can realize that and be that shutdown corner for Pittsburgh, I think they can be really solid and possibly scoop up one of those wild cards. If not, sneak up on the Bengals and Ravens and win the AFC North outright.
Yeah. I just threw a question in there myself because I was thinking about this, and it's good to see Parlay Poe in here because he had the likes to watch him in Go Blue, that maize and blue, and now he's in Pittsburgh doing work. And my question was, will Roman be that number 3 wide receiver in Pittsburgh, that guy to get some of them catches coming across the middle, some of them catches that you need to make some of them third down plays. And just thinking about it, man, this is I think a big season for Pittsburgh. Having a new coach, a reunion is going to get talked about a lot, and the non-Tomlin era. So it's going to be a lot of criticism coming from all angles when you think about that this season. Like, what if Mike Tomlin would have stayed? What if would he have done this with the team? Would he have done that? How it's just going to be a lot of things to think about when you talk about Pittsburgh this season. But I think you got to respect the fact they are defending champs of the North. It's going to be a new wrinkle for this defense. I believe it. And having Porter Jr., NFL, you're going to be handsy. I think he's a great cornerback. I think having him, Ramsey, with the guys you got, I can't remember if my boy Bishop Jr. still there, Parlay Poe. I remember when he was having those breakout games. I think that's just great. The only thing people say to me about Porter is just that he's handsy. Other than that, I think he's a great cornerback. I'm a Bengal, so I've watched him numerous Sundays. I'm always watching Pittsburgh games just to see what we could look like or know if, hey, that play can happen. when we watch him. But other than that, I think he's a great corner. His dad is a Hall of Famer. We know what his business and his work was when he was in Pittsburgh as well.
Yeah,
Like you said,
definitely. I'm that was not a knock. I love Joey Porter Jr. I think
yeah,
he's a dude. I
yeah,
think there's still another level he can reach though. If I'm clip moment of clarity.
yeah. Now I think what you I see what you mean by that because, like for me, I think when you watch Pittsburgh, yeah, they you not gonna really throw his way, but they always got something stupid to say about him. Whether it's a late hit, and excuse my French for saying stupid to the viewers if they take it in a different way, but when they say that he's making a decision that he shouldn't make, that's just football. Joy, he's in that essence of the game. When he put that helmet on and he in them pads, he a different animal, man. I love the way this kid play. He got that dog in him, and like I said, man, he get it from his pops, man. So ain't nothing wrong with it, and I love what he does. And I think this is the year where him and Ramsey actually communicates to a whole nother level with the secondary, and I
But
think that could be a difference maker.
your question on Jeremy Bernard or Roman being that third, I think it's gonna be Bernard, bro. I think when you look at Metcalf and Pittman, I think he complements those two better with his
Mm,
field stretching ability. I think he's going to be a guy who can get down the field for that offense. Aaron Rodgers, although he's long in the tooth, he still has plenty of arm to get the ball down the field. So I think it's going to be Bernard. Roman, will it surprise me if he secured that third wide receiver role? No, but for my money right now, I'm gonna go with Bernard.
I like that. I mean, I like the pick. That's because Bernard is he's different. I like what he brings to the table. At times, people forgot about Ryan Coleman, respectively, and I say that with a whole lot of respect, for sure. I mean, he's just that good. Um, you know what time it is, man. We ain't gonna hold the people, man. Y'all know what it is, man. Y'all know what we talking about, man. It's them Bengals, man. Y'all know what time it is. I keep something. You see the background, but I keep a little something on me, man. It ain't gold or none of that, but we going back. We going back to Saint. What's that? L.A. We going back to L.A. like it was 22, man. We talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm really excited for this season. Myself being a Bengals fan, just before we even get into them, is just so much watching Joe Burrow over these past 7 years. I think this is a year where everybody sit back and just have your popcorn ready because every Sunday gonna be a show. And I say it's gonna start with the defense. Just for me, that's just what I'm gonna start before we deep dive into it. Post and just the draft picks, was big for me. I think when you get the Cassius Howe, Tacario Davis, you get a Connor Lou, and you get a Jack Andrews. Those was the guys I felt that could, be pay big dividends, in this rookie class instantly. Get playing time on the field throughout this season. Of course, we know what Dexter Lawrence, Brian Cook. I think those guys coming in not just bringing leadership, veteran leadership. You bring a couple rings with you. So I think that gets that hunger in that locker room to a different level. And this is the first time in my life, really, Post, that I've seen Cincinnati do what they did. They've got signings done, they've made moves, and all I've been seeing is Cincinnati Super Bowl, Cincinnati Super Bowl. I'm going to tell y'all now, man, don't get on this bandwagon. Just like 21-22 season. Don't get on the bandwagon. If you ain't been part of Who Dey, we don't want you rocking the Who Dey. Just say you like orange and black, man. I've been Who Dey since, man. But what's your thoughts on Cincinnati Post? Because we're gonna deep dive into them, and if we got a few moments, I know you probably got something special for the guests to talk about as well.
Yeah, health. I think this is what Joe Burrow's seventh season.
Yeah,
I think he's only played a full season three times. It's going. they definitely need to solidify that offensive line, which they've been trying to do. I like Chase Brown as a running back, really versatile running back. I think he's going to have a big year. And then what else can you say about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, the best 1-2 punch at wide receiver in the NFL? But who's going to be that third guy? Is it Yoshevich? So they definitely need that third guy to step up. And then at tight end, I know they got Gesicki, but they picked up Drew Sample as well. So they'll be solid at the tight end position. They'll be solid. They'll be great at the wide receiver position. Really solid at the running back position. Joey Burrow has to stay healthy in order for this whole thing to function. And even they made so many improvements. If he does have to miss a couple of games, Joe Flacco looked really good stepping in for Joe Burrow last year. I hope we don't have to
Right.
see Joe Flacco, but if he has to miss a game or two, I think y'all be fine with
Yeah,
Flacco, man. But to reach the kind of expectations I know you have for your Bengals and the Bengals, the who they nation has for this team, Joe Burrow has to stay healthy. He
yes, sir.
definitely has to stay healthy. Shamar Stewart, Cassius Howe, can one of those guys step up off the edge? Because we know that interior with Big Dexter Lawrence and Allen as well is going to be a problem for any team. And we know defensive coordinator Al Golden likes to bring pressure and confuse opposing offenses in his style of defense. So, I mean, the Bengals have to be solid on defense. If anything, at least be an opportunistic defense who creates turnovers. If they can do that, because if the offense is healthy, it's not too many teams who can outscore them, but it all depends on that style of play. I love the Bengals this year, man. I think those matchups between the Ravens and the Bengals is going to tell who's going to win the AFC North.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I like that, and I'm not even going to hold you, man. I'm gonna go ahead and throw Pittsburgh in there, man, because I think they come stronger to play against us than Baltimore do. I will not hold you on that. Like it seemed like they came at us last year different, and they knew what they was looking for. So respectably, I think we could definitely take the division this year. Parlay Poe, I'm glad you said that, man. I don't, man. I hope you ain't gonna get mad at me, but I was actually watching this too, man. I was disappointed. Chris Canty, don't ever, please, ever rank Joe Burrow and say he's not a top five QB. Respectably, I'm saying this because I seen it live and we understand the health that Joe Burrow go through. But to say he's not a top five quarterback is a travesty to me. Hearing that from someone,
Well,
but
who does he have ahead of him?
he had who was the other QB parlay Poe that he had in there? He had Drake, May from New England in there, respectably. I respect Drake May. I'm not saying he's not a quarterback that's good, but when you putting another quarterback ahead of Burrow, when your top five don't have Joe Burrow in it, I don't know what to say. I can't not say anything about that. Joe Burrow is a top five quarterback, and we seen what he was doing before the injury. Everybody in the world knows his health. We all know that. But for me, I've been thinking about this for a while, man. If Joe Burrow can stay healthy this year, man, post, I think we taking it back to the Super Bowl. No ifs or buts about it. I think Shamar Stewart steps up. I think Cassius Howe steps up. I think Miles Murphy even steps up on the defensive line. Having that veteran leadership there, when you talk about Dexter Lawrence, you talking about a veteran that they didn't just give away any round pick. When you think about that pick, that's a franchise tag for a player that gets picked that high for some organizations. That's a lot to give up. So we know what he's going to bring to the table, but what he's going to give the other jewels to the youth that we have and to spread that love in a way to where it could amount to that Lombardi, I think is going to be something special in Cincinnati. At the running back position, I love Chase Brown. I love what he brings to the table. If we could get a better season all around in our run game, I know we have Samaje P. Ryan backing up, but I think if we could get Taj Brooks off to a great start this season, I think if we could get him to come in, make some great plays throughout the season when he's into the game, I think that'll be a bonus and that'll help that offense move at a different pace because now you can't just worry about Chase Brown. You got to worry about Taj Brooks. We know what P. Ryan brings to the table. He has that Super Bowl mentality. He's won him one. So all of these different things. Then you think of the LSU, coming together, the Clemson coming together, BJ Hill, Lawrence. I mean, it's just so much that's going on with this Cincinnati team this year. We know what Jamar Higgins brings to the table. My thing is the defense, the offensive line, and health for Cincinnati this season. If those three things cannot be a problem, I think Cincinnati has by far probably one of the best seasons in history. Joe Burrow said this is the best team I think that he's seen since the LSU championship. That speaks volumes, Post, because that team was different. That team was a problem. He just threw the ball up. So that means he felt like T. Higgins, it's a one-on-one out here in Cincinnati. It ain't no 1A or no one. It's a 1-1 out here in Cincinnati. We seeing who's going to be the 2 and the 3 in Cincinnati. That's all I'm looking for because we know who the 1-1 is. I think Burrow is going to be up for an MVP season. We know what he was up to before he got hurt. Hands down MVP. If he'd have played Cincinnati, we don't know what they would have did. But that's just my take. I'm taking any questions, anything when it comes to this Cincinnati. I give you predictions, stats. If you even want to run across a couple games from any of these teams and throw some picks out there, because I didn't write Cincinnati or Pittsburgh's games down, but I did write Baltimore and Cleveland's games down because when it comes to Cincinnati, I'm gonna just throw a record out there and say 13-4.
Okay. I'm not mad at that. If they stay healthy, I can see it. I can see it. I think Al Golden, what is this, his second or third year as the defense coordinator?
Yep.
He only gets better with time. He gonna have
And
that defense at least, like I said earlier, being the opportunistic one.
I think he has that defense moving differently because a lot of people when you watch a team like Cincinnati, of course you think of what Joe Burrow, what an injury do. You see how Flacco came in, but if people really watch the defense, DJ Turner, the second, he stood out in a major way. Jordan Battle was out there getting interceptions. I think when you add a player like Takario Davis, even though he's a rookie at that cornerback position, you can actually put a couple other players in a position they played in college. And if he can come into his own at that cornerback position, I think somebody's position could be in jeopardy because that's somebody I think we really got to watch this year. When he gets in a game and he gets his time, I think he's going to make the best of it. And I love his talent, man. I think he's special, and I like tall cornerbacks. I'm a defensive guy. Tall cornerbacks are some of my best cornerbacks because you can really see their skill set, even though they're tall. You can see their whole full skill set and the ability of what they're able to do. Oh, it's massive, Michigan guys in that secondary. My question is, if Dax Hill could stay healthy, I think the secondary could go to another level. When Dax Hill is hurt, I feel like that's a big IQ. That's like we lose a lot of IQ with him not being there. But DJ Turner, another Michigan guy, we see what he can do. They're ball hawks, but when they're out there together, I think it's a different hawk on that ball. And I think you know, like we said, Takario Davis, we know why he came in. Cam Taylor Britt, we know what it was. So I'm just happy to see what we got this year on the defensive side coming in. I'm excited for the season. And for me, it's not Super Bowl or bust, but I feel we AFC North champions, AFC champions, and we making that Super Bowl appearance and we trying to bring that Lombardi home. Yes, sir. Cincinnati, who they nation. What you thinking, Post?
Yeah, I think this is a defense. I love the acquisitions y'all made, but this I think the way y'all team set up, this is a defense that wants to play with the lead. The way Al Golden's style of defense, they want to play with the lead, and that's going to be easy to do with that offense. Like we mentioned earlier, they can stay healthy. This offense is going to put up a ton of points. And like you mentioned, Jamar Chase, best wide receiver in the league for my money. T. Higgins, just as good as any wide receiver in the league. That's
Yeah,
going to be really tough to deal with for any kind of defense. And one thing about that AFC North, when you talk about divisional games, those games can get real tricky because those teams are so familiar with each other. So that the AFC North is going to be really interesting, bro. And I got my
yeah,
eyes on this Bengal team for sure.
yeah. I agree, man. Like, the crazy thing, it's a great question, man. I think when you say how do you replace Trey Hendrickson,
They went and got Mafe from Seattle, and then with Cassius Howe and Shamar Stewart, if not both of them stepping up, you need at least one because the
yeah,
interior is solidified. But Trey Hendrickson, that was a loss, but they got some young players off the edge that has a chance and will be put in position to make plays.
for me, I think yeah, it's hard to replace him. I'm not gonna lie, but when like you said, Post having those young guys, Cassius Howe and having Shamar Stewart, I think having those guys, I think Cassius Howe is gonna be a problem. And then he said in the division he coming to get the barrels. Yeah. The thing is, I've been thinking about that all day. Like when they joked around and practiced laughing with each other, like what will it be like this year when we play Baltimore? Is Burrow going in with that and spin that thing for you, parlay po onto the end zone? You know what I mean? On them Ravens in that flock. But I'm definitely looking forward to it to see what Shamar Stewart do this year. I'm definitely looking at Cassius Howe. I'm really excited to see him. I think his motor and what he brings to the table, his energy, along with, of course, his freakish athleticism and what he could do when it's getting after the quarterback and his IQ. You talking about a young kid, but his IQ is actually pretty good. It's off the charts to me, for him to be as young as he is and have to do what he do, on a week in and week out basis. I love Cassius Howe and what he brings to the table. So I think, yeah, it's hard to replace, not replaceable, but you can fill in those holes, and as they grow, they'll get better along with the pieces around them becoming their self to where you just like, man, you gotta deal with everything coming, and that's just a part of getting better. That reminds me of when you're in the AFC North, that Pittsburgh, that's still curtain, that Baltimore defense that ruled the nation, over them years with Ray Lewis, and they continue to do it even in this era with Lamar Jackson, even when Joe Flacco was there. They had that defense. So I just think, this is a year in the AFC North where I think defense going to win this championship. And that championship is winning the AFC and getting to the AFC championship and winning that and possibly getting to that Super Bowl win as well. I think a team from the AFC North can definitely get there. When you think about health, you think about offensive line, you think about defense. A lot of people say the AFC North's not tough. I think it's the best conference in the NFL, the toughest conference in the NFL to me. And I'm not being biased. I love the AFC North, how week in, week out, you got to have your hard hat on, even if you're going out the division, because at any given moment, as you've seen, we still could have got into the playoffs last year. So, I mean, you just got to have that hard hat on, man, week in, week out. Anything else? You can go ahead. You good.
Yeah, the Bengals can't start off slow. That's for sure, man.
Little
They
bro.
they 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 got to shout out to your brother, man. Shout out to
Man,
him for sure. Yes, sir. Go Irish.
sir, appreciate you, little bro, man, tuning in this evening. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nah, go ahead. You good. You good.
No, I was just mentioning the Bengals can't start off slow, man. That's been their problem lately. They've been starting off slow, and I know injuries have a lot to do with that. But they got to start this season off on a house full of fire for sure because they got
Yeah,
the weapons to do it, man. I think they loaded at the skill positions, man, and running back, wide receiver, tight end. I think they can really do some things. And then Joe Burrow having that bad taste in his mouth from last year. Because if he was healthy, the Bengals is a playoff team, Austin. I think you know that. Everybody knows that. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. But I got my own this team for sure.
yes, sir. And I look forward to like before in life. You could ask, bro. You could ask Parlay Poe. He said when you play the Ravens, somehow you have to put Hamilton in coverage. Yeah, that boy's special when it comes to defense, man. I think when you think of Kyle Hamilton, I haven't seen, and that's what I was just saying. Defenders that's tall, you get to see the full package. You've been seeing this since Notre Dame. They was talking about him being drafted that high. And since he's been in the league, only thing held him up but last year was that injury. If he wasn't hurt during that little time, I think it would have been different. But Kyle Hamilton is special, man. Definitely special.
Bro, to this day, I don't think I've seen a crazier play than what Kyle Hamilton did at Notre Dame. He was on the opposite side of the field, and the quarterback threw it, and he goes all the way to the opposite sideline and makes the interception, toe taps before going out of bounds. I don't think I ever seen anything like that, but it just speaks on the elite athleticism, yes sir, against FSU. the
Why y'all see
elite
you and bro getting me, man? I knew you was gonna do it.
Man, I let me know if y'all saw something crazier than that because I have not.
That's that's definitely that was different, bro. I watched him, and when he made that play, bro, I said, yeah, he going tops, man. Like this dude is different in his length, and he covered like he was on one side because he went in motion, and then he went all the way across field. Because I forget who he was guarding on that little slot. He went into a post and then he went all the way across the field, which was crazy. So for me, like you talk about Hamilton, man, he is different. Like I think this is one you talk about in the history of the game of the NFL. When you speak of free safeties and you think of DBs, I'm thinking of Eric Berry. Like I'm thinking of Reed. I'm thinking of Ed Reed. I'm thinking of these guys when you thinking of Kyle Hamilton, Ronnie Lott, Sean Taylor, rest in peace, man. Like then you got to think of an old school Bob Sanders. That's one of your boys. Notre Dame to Indianapolis. You know what I mean? So I think Kyle Hamilton is special. I think this could be that season. And him and Joe Burrow definitely be playing a chess match with each other. I really watched them game. I love that Cincinnati Baltimore game because of the fact of watching how good Kyle Hamilton is, respectively. I think if you ask Burrow which defensive player in the division that he don't want to go against in the secondary, it's Kyle Hamilton, respectively, because he sees everything, man. He studies the game. He know who he's going against. So that's hats off to him and what he do. And like Parlay Post said, his range is different. Like he got a different range, man. And you add that along with it, it's crazy. He said, Bill Gates, LL, how old we want to go. I don't know, man. Depends, man. I'm going to I'm 150 SEC. I ain't letting life go till I'm 150. I'm going to speak it too. But anything you got, we right over an hour. But we come on a 614 band, man. We always trying to cook something up. We not on the stove, but we coming to you live and direct post from South Bend. And you know me, I'm here in the 614, Columbus, Ohio, just right here in the city. That's all we doing, man, is just cooking up. Anything you got to say for him, post?
No, man, great cook up, man. I appreciate you like always, homie. And I love talking sports with you. This AFC North is gonna be interesting, bro. Because like we said, you got a young team in Cleveland trying to figure it out. New head coach. The Baltimore Ravens added some pieces. Let's see if Lamar can stay healthy. The same thing for the Cincinnati Bengals. And what can uh, McCarthy and Old Man Rogers do together? Can they rekindle that magic they had in Green Bay? But we'll see, man. It's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. SEC Sean, he said 12-5 for Cincy. I like that. I like that. And I went ahead and typed in there, drop your records for teams. If you got a record you want to put for any team in the AFC North, drop your record for all the other teams, SEC Sean. We'll make sure I can remember the 12-5. But I like that pick. I appreciate that pick. I just think, that AFC North is going to be a tough division. We got a couple games outside of the division that could be tough. I just think this is that year, man, that to see a healthy Burrow and just watching him, in the offseason, I think is just a whole different Burrow. He looked like he's steady. He looked like he calm. His body looked like it's healthy. You know what I mean? They don't look like you watching like, is it? He looked like he ready to go, man. So I think that, and to mention the fact, if y'all really go watch the footage, man, him and T chasing T, they've been working out together, and that's going to be crazy work this year. So that means T is going to be coming across on some of what Chase did. They're going to know each other's actual routes on opposite sides of the field post. That's going to be crazy when you could actually audible and flip the play without even moving the offense and just calling it. That's going to be diabolical.
Yeah, yeah, parlay Poe is crazy, man. But hey, Mr. Sean Moss, come on over to the post, man. I dropped the link to my channel at Post Game 86.
Yep.
Make sure you come over there and subscribe, man. We talk a lot of Irish, so make sure you do that, my man.
Yep. And while y'all doing that, make sure y'all go tap in. You see Parlay Poe up on here, Blissberg. You see SEC Sean up there. He said if Burrow keep that left tackle, if his left tackle keep his clean year, watch out for the AFC. He said, send me the link. I got you. Yep, I got you, bro. I'm gonna send it to you as soon as we get off the stream. I'm gonna send that straight to you. But nah, man, we definitely appreciate when I say everybody that's been rocking with us, man. I think what's this been like almost 4 or 5 months now that we've been doing our own shows posts since Unc told us to get to it.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Man,
about 4 or 5 months.
it's been love, man. And like I said, man, without you, these shows wouldn't be what they be. Shout out to Parlay Poe. When I say this man is so busy, man. He's not just a dad. He's doing so much things, man. Shout out to you, on the health, and you know what I'm talking about when it comes to that, man. We definitely, you got the support from us, man. And when it comes to just everything you do. We know you waiting to get to us because for y'all, we gonna have something set up on a Pittsburgh talk for y'all with Parlay Poe. We got some Michigan stuff coming for y'all with Parlay Poe, but it's NFL talk. We might hit y'all with a whole different slew of something next week. It might be summer league talk. It might be college football talk because we edging closer. I think it's less than 40 days, less than about 30 some days now. So college football season post.
Yeah, towards the end of August. But you know what, man? I don't know. I Parlay Poe, I know you handling business, but man, what I gotta do, man? Y'all remember Scottie Pippen showing the bottom of his shoe and telling Jordan, "Come on back." That's what we do. That's what we doing with Poe, man. That's what we got to do to get you back on screen, dog.
And Huck said at WTP, he said, it's the Steelers division. What's your records in this division, Unc? He already saying that Burrow, with him saying that it's the Steelers division, he feel that Burrow not going to make it through the season. That's my guess. That's my guess with that one, Post. That's my guess. But nah, nonetheless, man, like I said, we greatly appreciate y'all tuning in. If y'all haven't, man, go check the latest conversation with Mossberg. That one hit home for me when it comes to a brother, like a little big brother is what I call him, Ohio legend Jamel Corley. I had that conversation last Friday. Make sure you go check that out. It was probably like it was so many jewels dropped in that, not only for myself but to those that have view it, tune into it, make sure you do. And he said Burrow was sacked 213 times. Yeah, man, he been getting tortured, man. We already know. And then, for me, if it's you, when I had that conversation with Mossberg, make sure that you reach out through the website WTPSportsDudes.com where you can get a view about the All About Us. You'll be able to see some of our latest shows on there as well. But you can always go like and subscribe. And make sure you hit that like button on this. Make sure you go follow my guy to the left of me, to the right of me. This is like my main man, my little big bro. I'm gonna call him my big bro, even though he's younger than me, man. He understand that because I like how he be in the post and he kick it out for me to me for the three. That day gonna come soon this summer. I mean next summer, hopefully. But other than that, man, we just glad to be here doing what we do. Tune in to SEC Shine. Tune in to Parlay Poe at Blissburg. Tune in to One Take Zay. Tune in to City League TV. Tune in to Blissburg at Parlay Poe. And tune in to at WTP for Life. Here's a man that put us all together. Unc, we can't thank you enough for what you've done and what you've created. And he said the Browns clowns. He ain't even put no record in for him. He said the Steelers 11-6, Cincinnati 11-6, and the Ravens 10-7. Ooh, Unc with some jewels on here. Them some bombs, Unc. 11-6. You only think 11 gonna come the highest out of the North? He saying we gonna lose to the Titans? Nah, not happening. But nah, it's just good to see the comments coming in, and we appreciate that. And I'm gonna get that down on paper. But anything else you guys say to him tomorrow? I mean, say to him before we get out of here tonight, Post?
Yeah, man. Make sure y'all tune in. Same time, same place tomorrow, 7:45 Eastern Standard Time. We're gonna be breaking down the AFC South.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As he said, man, y'all know what it is, man. We're gonna be doing what we do, not just today, tonight, but tomorrow night. And then just don't turn your notifications off because we might pop up Friday night with a conversation, or we just might be on there talking and doing what we do. Because it's NBA summer. And I seen Yaxel, I seen Malik Thomas. We already know about the top four picks, what they did. They did work. We know about the hometown hero, Dalen Swain. So it's just so much that's been going on in the NBA as well as the WNBA. FIFA then got their champion, and that was an upset as some called, but it was just great seeing that FIFA. And it's just great to all the women, all the men, all the young men and young women, all the boys and the girls, even the grandparents, if you're playing in basketball, whatever you're doing, anyone in the sport. We appreciate you for what you do and continue to do what you do. And for those that students, don't forget to hit them books first to be that athlete that you want to be later on in life. Other than that, man, we appreciate y'all tuning in. And as T1 always say, we in the building and now we out. Peace. Appreciate you, Brody. You already know it. We out.